Listen, I can never understand how a grown man, usually a man with white beard, who is old enough to be a grandfather or sometimes to be a great-grandfather, finds a female minor sexually attractive for sex and marriage. I can never, ever understand this. I cannot make meaning of it. But this is a common practice in many parts of the world and in some African countries due to religious and cultural reasons. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a common practice in Somalia until it became a topical issue for the government. Just last year, in a historic move in Somalia, the Somali cabinet approved a bill called the Sexual Intercourse Related Crimes Bill on August 6th, 2024. This bill is a landmark legislation that criminalizes child marriage by setting the legal age of marriage at 18 because the rate of child marriage in the country of Somalia is just alarming. As it stands now, ladies and gentlemen, the Somalia government, the government's cabinet has passed it, which is a great news, but must now go to their parliament according to their legal structure. It must be debated and voted on by lawmakers and passed by the Somalia Federal Parliament. Then once passed by parliament, ladies and gentlemen, it goes to the president for his signature to become law. Ladies and gentlemen, when the bill is finally signed into law by the president of Somalia, it will explicitly set the minimum age for marriage at 18 years for both boys and girls. It will criminalize marrying a child under 18 in Somalia, which will mean parents, guardians, or spouses who facilitate or engage in child marriage can face legal consequences. This new law, when passed, will also criminalize female genital mutilation, sexual harassment, and rape in Somalia. Ladies and gentlemen, Somalia has one of the highest rates of child marriage in the whole world. According to a UNICEF data, 36% of girls in Somalia are married off before their 18th birthday, and 8% are married off before their 15th birthday. 15. Somalia has a total population of 19 million, ladies and gentlemen. Now, out of that number, approximately 4 million are girls under 15 years. 8% of 4 million girl children under 15 years is around 320,000 girls. So that's the number of children who are supposed to be in school but are given off in a marriage because of religious, cultural, and economic reasons. And when they are given off, it is usually to old men. Child marriage is so deeply rooted in some Somali traditions, often seen as a way to strengthen tribal ties or protecting family honor. As a matter of fact, it is a public knowledge that in times of economic hardship or drought in Somalia, some families sometimes resort to marrying off children, daughters, to reduce the number of mouths to feed or in exchange for economic support. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why this law is so welcomed around the world. Your girl child is not an item to trade in a barter. Your children have an identity of their own and a will as well. Now, just so you know, it is only 17 African countries where the laws explicitly state that marriage under customary or legal must be at least at the age of 18. Only 17 African countries have this law in clear, explicit language. The rest of all other African countries under customary marriages allows for these types of marriages, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to know the list of the 17 African countries whose laws totally prohibits and criminalizes child marriages, here are their names: Algeria, Cameroon, Comoros, Republic of Congo, Ivory Coast, the DRC, Ethiopia, Kenya, Malawi, Mauritania, Rwanda, Seychelles, South Africa, and Tanzania. If you didn't hear your country's name mentioned, it means child marriage as a custom and under the religious disposition in your country is still permissible in your country even till this day, ladies and gentlemen. And the question we all have to ask both sides is this. I mean, on the side of the man who wants to marry the minor girl, or the part of the family that is willing to give her off. These are the questions we all have to ask, ladies and gentlemen. Is this the only use you have for your young female children, ladies and gentlemen? Is this all you think they are good for? Do you not see other young girls grow into doctors and nurses and work in the government and achieve great things for themselves and their families? Why have you only resorted to this even when civilization is sweeping across the world, ladies and gentlemen? You can do better than this as a family. And so I'm appealing to the families in Somalia to reconsider. And I'm also appealing for the law to be passed. For under no circumstance should you ever give your girls to a man for marriage when she cannot consent to it. You do so to only help yourself and not them, ladies and gentlemen. You are denying the girl child the ability to experience life and make decisions on their own and live as a normal person, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't acceptable if you happen to chance on this video, no matter where you are in the world or from. And if you are in Somalia, you should push for the legal processes to be expedited so that these kinds of practices can be checked, ladies and gentlemen. The current president of Somalia, President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, is an academic who previously was a university professor and a dean at Simad University, which he co-founded, ladies and gentlemen, in Somalia. He should want to see this law actually passed. He should be ready to sign it into law because he has in the past worked for the UN, UNICEF, and other international NGOs. And I'm sure he has worked with many females from all these institutions. This bill in parliament go as far as the president wants it to go. Once he is in support of it, it will find a way to be passed. But he is also an Islamist politician serving his second term in office. So many still doubt the expectation may not be achieved. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a weekend and I don't want to take too much of your attention. But this message must go viral, especially in Somalia. The problem, however, is Somalia has only 2 official languages and English isn't on that list. The first is Somali language and the second is Arabic. It is estimated that over 20 million people speak Somali language worldwide as their first tongue. But that number is a combination of people from 5 countries, namely Somalia, and a large portion of people from Djibouti, Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Kenya. So even in Somalia, the Somali language is dying. It is dying as the Arabic language is taking over. This isn't me saying it, ladies and gentlemen, but every international website that lists languages in the world that risk being extinct says it. It states that it is more common to find people who can read in Arabic than those who can actually read in Somali language. But guess what? It is not just peculiar to Somalia. It's not just a Somalia problem, but all African problem. Did you know that English and French are the most spoken and written languages in Africa? You can confirm this for yourself by paying attention to the language of the coming generation. The vast majority of young people are actually shy to speak their native language, their mother tongue. They mostly speak in these 2 languages in school, where they spend the majority of their time in a day and therefore more used to it. So they may understand and possibly speak the local language, but will rather choose to speak in either French or English. These are facts. That is a topic for serious discussion, but not for today. Ladies and gentlemen, the Somali language must not die, just as the rest of African languages must be encouraged. In conclusion, this decision by the Somali cabinet will usher in a breath of freshness in the Eastern and Central African area when it comes to girl child education. This must be trumpeted and encouraged until it is passed by their parliament and ultimately signed into law by their president. The girl child must be protected everywhere in the world. Kindly help me translate this video into Somali language and share till the relevant people get to see it. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm Cyrus, and this is Tuntum Network in Accra, Ghana. Be sure to subscribe and click on the bell for more of my videos. It's bye-bye for now.